السلام عليكم. العملات زوينين وغاديين بخير في هذا البير ماركت، تقريبا ما مسوسينش وعندهم مستقبل زوين ان شاء الله. العام الجاي الانسان يقدر يديرهم في دماغه. انا نقول لكم بيان سور ماشي نقولها لك غتمشي تشريها، غتمشي غتقرا عليها وتعلم ليها شويه وتعرف او تشوف البيدجي اللي عندك، شحال عندك، شحال تقدر تحط فيها اكسيتيرا، عاد تحط اوكي وتاخذ القرار غتاخذه انت ماشي انا غنقولهم لك. هاد العملات هادو مزيانين، كاينين فيهم اللي هضر فيهم، كاين اللي ما عمري هضرت فيهم، ومشاريع زوينه ومشاريع غاده متطوره بزاف، واكثريه الاولى اللي غنبدا بها. ليتس جو لايك ليتس جو. انتم كيف كتشوفوا البير ماركت قضيه حامضه روينه، كلشي طايح، البيتكوين طايح، الايثيريوم طايح، كلشي كانوا عارفين الاسباب بلا ما نقولها لكم عاوتاني معروفين. اوكي هادشي جاري بالعمل الدنيا، يعني في اي بيزنس كيكون داكشي اب اند داون، كيطلع ويهبط يطلع ويهبط. القفز هو اللي كيكون ملي تكون القضيه طايحه وكيكونوا الناس كيبكيو وكيعيروا في كريبتو، ديك الساعات كيشريها لانها كتكون طايحه. وملي طلع شي شويه الله دوك اللي بكايه كيقول او ناري كون عشريتها، ديك الساعات بيع. هذا هو القفز. اوكي تبع معايا الفيلم، ليتس جو. التويتر ديالي مازال اللي مازال ما وصلنا 2000. شكرا للناس اللي دخلوا وزيدوا مازال دخلوا ليه. اوكي اورايت. وما تنساوش انستغرام، واللي عنده شي سؤال شي حاجه عندي انستغرام وتيك توك حتى هو. اورايت. اول وحده هي تشين لينك. هذه تشين لينك هذه هي نمبر 1. اوكي تشين لينك كاينين بزاف ديال الناس ويلز، دوك الناس اللي عندهم فلوس الملايين اللي خدامين كيشريوها من البدايه ديال العام حتى لدابا ومازال غيشريوها. علاش؟ لان عارفين المشاريع اللي عندها. باش نشرحوها واحد الشرح بسيط. خدامه بالتكنولوجي ديال اوراكل، وكتدخل الناس من الناس اللي خارجين على البلوكشين، كتدخلهم البلوكشين. رايت. واحد التكنولوجي ماشي الناس بيسيغ الابس والشركات وبزاف. عندنا بزاف ديال المشاريع الا بغيتو نهضروا عليها بوحدها. المهم الاهم حاجه هو الناس بزاف دخلوا ليها. اوكي وشوف شحال تقريبا 10k اوف هذا الادريسز اول 10k شتيها ادريسز هولدين 10k 10000 ادريس 1 مليون لينك هو التشين لينك. العمله ديالها سميتها لينك. اوكي تصور الناس اللي عندهم فلوس بزاف. اوكي شارينا وبزاف ديال المحفظات تشراو ديرنييرمون من الناس اللي ملاعقين، شارينا وخلينا. اوكي زيد عليها حاجه اخرى اللي غدير جديده وهي ستيكين. غدير ستيكين قريبا جو بونس في الاخر ديال هذا العام. وحاجه اخرى اللي غدير سميتو غدير البروف اوف ستيك. ملي غتبدا هاد ستيكين غتبدا البروف اوف ستيك بحال كيف دارت ايثيريوم الا كنتي متبع ايثيريوم. اورايت. الحاجه اللي بغيتكم تشوفوا هاد الانترفيو هذه مهمه، انا شفتها عجبتني، انا ندوزها لكم تشوفوها. هاد الجوج هادو حتى واحد فيهم ما داخل في هاد تشين لينك، لا بروبريتير لا والو، امين حتى واحد ما مولاها. هادو غير كيهضروا عليها كياناليزيو فيها. هذا غادي يدير واحد الاناليز ديال التشارت وغيقول لنا المستقبل ديال تشين لينك واش اندر فاليود، واش هذا هو الثمن ولا مازال غطيح ولا مازال غطلع، وشنو هو الفالور ديالها كومباريزون مع بيتكوين مع ايثيريوم اكسيتيرا، والمستقبل ديالها مزيان. هذا كيدير لاناليز زوينه، انا كنسمع ليه بزاف الفيديوهات ديالو، حتى نتوما بغيتكم تمشيو ليه. سميتو بنجامين كون. دابا ندير لكم اللينك ديالو اليوتيوب ديالو. وهذه الكوين سميتو هذه مهمه. كنشوف فيها مره كيديروا فيديوهات زوينين وكنتبعهم في
that Chainlink, besides connecting with Ethereum and Solana and Phantom and all that stuff, besides being the blockchain Oracle service for Gemini, for Kraken, for Binance, for Coinbase, besides that, Chainlink of course has been integrated by Swift. That was a big one, the
Swift.
global provider of
Swift
financial services. Everybody, the Ethereum
كدير بزنس مع هادو كامل.
The Bitcoin people wanted Bitcoin to
Swift مهم.
be obsolete Swift. Well, Swift is still around. It's still the blue chip in legacy, traditional, and it's amazing that they integrated Chainlink. That's what excites me about the project, including the Associated Press, Amazon Web Service. It seems like there's no other game in town. But my question for you, Ben, before we get into the charts, is what excites you most about Chainlink? Why are you even talking about it since the beginning?
for me, I think Chainlink sort of acts as a backbone for a lot of cryptocurrencies. I would argue that it's sort of integrated itself.
Chainlink هي الباك بون ديال الأصل ديال الكريبتوات كاملين.
I don't know the exact number like you do, but we've seen over the years just how many cryptocurrency projects it sort of integrated itself into. And I would argue that it provides a very valuable service in providing like real-time feeds via the blockchain. One of the reasons why I think it hasn't done as well recently, obviously, is not necessarily because Chainlink isn't a great project. It's more so just because of the overall market risk and the fact that we are in fact in a bear market. But I do think the fundamentals of Link, I actually have a whole video on my channel called like what is Chainlink, where I go through it.
إذا دخلتوا للشانل ديالو تقدر تشوف شنو هي Chainlink من الأول حتى الآخر.
Shine through a bit better.
قال لك هاد اليامات اللي طايحة ماشي حيت Chainlink ما مزياناش غير حيت راك عارفوا البير ماركت.
If that makes sense.
Definitely. I mean, there's price and then there's value, and sometimes the two do not correlate. And you want to look in the bear market for these projects that have a lot of value. So let's jump into the charts, Benjamin. I want to know.
I just want to show you a few charts here. The first one is just Link USD, and I would argue that we're potentially at a very similar phase that we were at sort of in the middle of 2018. But one of the things that I always found really interesting with Chainlink is that, and I know you are very familiar with what happened with crypto at the very end of 2018, right? We saw the floor.
Le comportement ديالها
Link is that it actually did not put in a lower low. Sort of the low that it put in was actually in the summer of 2018. And that was something that really got my attention back then. I mean, I did hold
فاش طاحت بزاف ماشي دابا قال لك في 2018 هي فاش طاحت بزاف.
It was before, I know it was before the final crash in 2018. I remember that for sure. But it sort of grabbed my attention that, hey, this is going to be a good project. If at the end of the bear market, the end of the capitulation that sent Bitcoin down 50% and a lot of altcoins down 80%, Link was still able to hold its prior low. And then ever since then, it went through this crazy bull market, and it peaked out in May of 2021, which arguably the entire crypto asset class arguably has been in a bear market really since mid 2021, and we sort of leveraged our way up to the November peak. But one of the interesting things is that one could make the argument that we're sort of at a similar phase right now on the Link USD chart that we were kind of over here. And what you'll notice is that Link actually had a bit of a pop, right before we had another.
دابا هادي اللي خصك ترد لها البال مزيان. دابا قال لك هادي هاد النقطة اللي هنا هي هاد النقطة اللي هنا. دابا إلا كانت هاد النقطة هي هادي، اشنو المعنى ديالها؟ المعنى ديالها طلع شي عالتلاش. دونك تصور هنايا غيطلع الطلعة هادي كبيرة. اوكي؟ إلا كان بيان سور لاناليز ديالو كوريكت وتشيز ماشي 100% ديما كيجيبوها فلاكس، ولكن المهم هادي غير اناليز ديالو الرأي ديالو. اوكي فهم معايا، وماشي انا قلت لك ماشي 100% غادي يكون هادشي، ولكن المهم الا كان هادشي فري صافي دير هاد النقطة هي هادي معناها انه غادي يطلع واحد الطلعة صاروخية حتى لهنايا. اوكي رايت تقدر دير لها كوبي كولي، تشد هادي دير لها طق وتشوفها الفوق وتعرفوا تقريبا امتى غادي يطيح. دونك غادي يطلع واحد الطلعة زوينة. اوكي نتمنى على الله.
Another leg down in the overall crypto market. What I'm looking for with Link over the next few months, because this year I've actually been relatively light on my altcoin stack, but of course I don't want to stay light on my altcoin stack forever, because I do think that cryptocurrency is much more than just Bitcoin. I do think that we're going to have lots of cryptocurrencies in the future. One of the things I'm looking for is how well does Link hold up if we do get some more fear closer to the end of the year with the Fed continuing to raise interest rates, and how does it hold up against Bitcoin? Because here's the really interesting thing. If you look at the Link USD chart, you'll see that it was sort of just in an accumulation phase, or say the second half of 2018. If you look at the Link Bitcoin chart, I've had this chart like literally on my Link Bitcoin tab for a long time now. You'll notice that it was already in an uptrend against Bitcoin throughout 2018, and then really built into this manic bull market that Link Bitcoin actually copped during the DeFi summer of 2020. I mean, that was a great summer for a lot of DeFi projects, and you can see that it actually peaked right there. But what's interesting is how since then we've just sort of gone through the same bubble pop scenario that we've seen time and time again, but this one's on the Link Bitcoin pair. And noticeably, I would argue that this here could be the despair phase, right? Sort of that despair phase that we've seen happen in a lot of these crypto assets before in the past. But I would argue that this is somewhat similar. And what I'm looking towards is as we continue to navigate, you know, whether the bear market is over or not, or whether we have another leg down, only time will tell. But what happens over the next 3 to 6 months? Can Link USD sort of hold around these levels, even if crypto has another leg down? And if it does, is Link Bitcoin sort of just getting back onto its meat, right? Like it's sort of the average path that it's been on. I think that's sort of what Link USD and Link Bitcoin are in the process of doing. Link Bitcoin is sort of trying to reclaim the path that it was once on. And I think as we get on this path, and as crypto, eventually the crypto winter will fall, and as that falls, then I think you really could be looking at, you know, at a relatively undervalued asset. Of course, in the short term, who really knows? Because, I mean, if equities get another leg down in the next 3 to 6 months, I'm sure it'll have an effect on crypto. But I do think these are some really interesting charts to be looking at with respect to Link USD and Link Bitcoin.
So what I hear you saying is Chainlink might be undervalued, but not necessarily, there might be a lower low.
I think right now, I think right, but I think about it in terms of like the idiosyncratic risk and the market risk. So the idiosyncratic risk is just based on what Link is doing, and then the market risk is based on like what everything else is doing, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like what is everything else doing? I think Link is looking relatively strong. Okay, so I think it looks strong against Bitcoin. I think it's looking strong against Ethereum. And I would say you could
لينك شادة مع البيتكوين شادة كل شيء ولكن اللور لو ما عرفناش تقدر تكون قل منه.
I mean, look at this. I mean, like look at this drawdown and from the all-time high. I mean, it went down.
Drawdown هو التراجع.
Almost against Bitcoin. It is still down 78% against Bitcoin from its all-time high. So I mean, you haven't really missed out on anything at this point. But I think it's probably undervalued against Bitcoin. If we take a look at the Link Ether chart, you could also argue that it's going through a similar phase like it did sort of in the middle of 2018, right, where it kind of puts in these lows and then it recovers a little bit. But even though Link was going up during this phase, Link USD was still...
إلا كان هادي غادي نظن غادي يطلع شي طلعة زوينة إن شاء الله.
I think to answer
وهادشي اللي أنا متفائل، أنا ديما كنشوفها متفائل.
The only sort of question in the air is can it go lower than $1? And obviously that's going to be dependent on the overall market risk and not really anything related to Chainlink.
Now, a catalyst that not many people are talking about, because it's still kind of in the beginning, is that Chainlink is moving to proof of stake. This December, they're offering early access if you meet certain requirements.
Chainlink غتولي دير proof of stake بحال.
That'll be open to everybody. And, you know, kind of the thought is that just like Ethereum, staking the Link will be good for supply and demand and will make it have better tokenomics. Any thoughts?
I mean, I think, look, this is, I mean, them going to proof of stake has been something we've been waiting for forever. I mean, it's hard to imagine it's still 2022 and it hasn't happened. I said the same thing about Ethereum, you know, for years. But yeah, I think ultimately it's a good thing. I mean, I also think it's a good thing for Ethereum as well. I think it is a good transition for Link to make. The whole idea of locking your tokens up and earning interest.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Benjamin, but it sounds to me like you're still bullish on Chainlink.
Yeah, I mean, long term, I'm definitely bullish. I do think I wish it would have performed a bit better at the end of the bear market.
في المستقبل 100% عملة مزيانة. أنا من شحال هذه من نهار بديت أنا كنشري دوك الالت كوين، شحال هذه شي 3 سنين 4 سنين شريتها وعجبتني وشفت البروجي ديالهم عجبني بزاف.
Link's probably going to take a backseat for a while. But listen, 2019.
لكن البيتكوين بدا يطلع شي طلعات خطيرة غتتبعو. Chainlink. أنا كيبان ليا مشروع مخير زوين. كتشوفوا الناس بزاف غنتابعو 47 مليون لينك اللي تشات. لينك يا Chainlink العملة اوكي 312 مليون دولار رايت 312.7 مليون دولار اللي تحطات فيها ومازال الناس غيحطوا فيها فلوس كثر. دونك هذا مشروع زويون وبخير. تشين لينك ديال المستقبل. بالنسبه لك انت اللي كنتي زربان باغي تريدي ربما ماشي الوقت نهائيا ديال التريد unless it's something crazy happen. ولكن اللي كنتي باغي تحط فليساتك وباغي تسناهم يطلعوا زوينه ان شاء الله بحول الله. ربما البدايه ديال العام انا كنظن تقدر توصل ديك دابا راه واصله شي 7 دونك تقدر توصل شي 20 ولا شي حاجه بحال هكا. اورايت حدي مع فلوسك وحدي مع راسك واستا لا فيستا باي باي وتبع لي.